Hey everybody, JJ here, back again for another Wednesday of Zoom networking. And we've got a really unbelievably awesome person on today. Our guest speaker is extremely talented, very successful, and she just kicks butt. She just does. Um, she's traveled from one part of the country to another and has been successful everywhere she goes. Uh, we started with the same education platform many years ago. That's how we met. And we've just become good friends over the years. I'd like to introduce my good friend, Miss LeAnn LeFortūne. How are you, my dear?
I am doing just fantastic. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me here again. I think it was 3 years ago or so that I was on
Well,
here the first time.
we got to bring you on yearly, annually. I mean,
I agree. Yeah, so much has changed. I love it. You've really grown.
thank you so much. I'm a little bit taller. I'm a little bit
Are you?
taller.
Yeah, I thought so. You got more hair too.
Yeah. It's always it's down here though. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's been a minute, as the kids say, and your beautiful smile hasn't changed a bit. Still your brand. Still your brand. Hey, really quick, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I am in Austin, Texas.
Beautiful there. Yeah, I got a friend there named Cynthia Spencer. I need to introduce you to her. She's also out of our prior education program. Hey, I really wanted to start off with how you got started, and talk a little bit about you before we get into your topic. But as I like to say every week, we all start a different way. Some of us start younger in our 20s, if not our teens, if they're fortunate enough to. And some of us don't start till we're in our 50s or 60s. We're later in life and we just decide what are we going to do. And, it's we all get started a different way, at a different time, a different place. Um,
Absolutely. And that's
from
okay.
with yourself,
Mhm.
I know you've been in two different states, but I'm not sure where you originated, but in your teens, was real estate on the horizon for you, and going from your teens in your 20s? If not, what were you doing from maybe that time period from your teens to your 20s? Where were you located, and what were you doing in high school for starters? Were you even looking at real estate back then?
Yes and no. I was intrigued and interested in real estate because I knew that it was a good way to build wealth and really live anywhere in the world. Like you can do real estate anywhere. And I really liked that aspect of it. And I like the idea of building wealth with it. But ultimately, I was taught, go to school. And so that's what I ended up doing. But just to backtrack, I was born in Ketchikan, Alaska, which is a small town, but I'm actually from an even smaller village. Like my mom traveled to Ketchikan to have me because she couldn't have me where we're actually from because there's no hospital on that island. It's on an island out in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
So I'm from a kind of like a fishing village. If anyone's watched Coda, it brought back so many memories. Watch Coda and like it reminds me of how I grew up. But yeah, so I grew up commercial fishing. I learned how to like clean a fish, gut a fish, and ice a fish and sell it at at the plant before like pretty much when I could walk. So, and I learned how to walk on the boat. So I was like this, learning to walk when I got to land, type of
You're
thing.
still walking that way.
I still am. So, I didn't want to get stuck in that industry. I mean, I could have. My dad was a successful fisherman. He owned a very expensive, fancy fishing vessel, and he was called a highliner, one of the big guys that caught all the fish. And I didn't want to do that because I was forced to do that in my summers when kids would come back to school telling about going to Disneyland and having fun. I was like, well, I worked my butt off on the boat and I didn't get to talk to anybody because we're out in the ocean. And I thought it sucked as a teenager. You know how teenagers are.
Yeah.
So but I still had this affinity for nature. Growing up on the ocean in a remote village amongst the animals with the bears and the wolves and the eagles and the sea otters and the whales and all that stuff. Growing
Wow.
up I mean, it was National Geographic. Growing up there, I definitely cared about nature, the environment, animals, and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I'm supposed to go to school. Let's get a biology degree. So that's ultimately what I ended up doing is I went to UAS, University of Alaska Southeast in Juneau, which is the state capital, and I got my degree and I ended up landing a job with State of Alaska Department of Fish and Game, where I was helping manage the fisheries. And I did an excellent job. They loved me because I was like the liaison between the people managing the fisheries and the fishermen. And since my father was a fisherman, I knew how to talk and speak and hang out with the fishermen, and I knew how to drive the boat to go talk to them. So I was captain of a boat and I'd drive out and I'd talk to the fishermen and I'd collect all their landing data, how many fish they caught, what species, stuff like that. And then I'd take it back to Fish and Game and report it, and they could determine how many fish you could catch. It's how they managed the fishery. And I loved that job, but it didn't pay very well. It was a seasonal job. It was really only in the summertime, and I needed to like move on, you know.
Now, how old are you at this point in time? Are you still in your teens, early 20s?
Early 20s, I graduated. I had a degree. So it was early 20s. Yeah. I mean, I could talk about before that where I flew away to the Virgin Islands and worked doing sea turtle tours because I didn't want to be in Alaska, but I figured I'd skip that part. Then I came back and did this.
Wow, so you've been all over the place.
I
So
was a beach bum for a little bit.
so what were you doing before you got into real estate? How did you transition? What did you transition from? Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I ended up landing after that. I applied for a job on a research vessel where 6 months out of the year I was out at sea, and sometimes I was like 20 miles off the coast of Russia. Like we were way out there, and we were doing invasive crab research and stuff like that. It was so fun, but I didn't have a home. I lived on the boat. I couldn't have I mean, you could try to have a boyfriend, but it's like, see ya, honey. I'm allowed one email a day. You're not gonna talk to me. I'm gone for 6 months. Like, see you then. Like, that's not gonna work, right? And I just love having pets. I couldn't have a dog, and I pretty much lived like a nomad. I would put all my stuff in my car, lock it up, and then I'd go on because I didn't want to pay rent while I'm gone for 6 months. So I only had a carload of belongings. That's all I had. And then I'd
Wow.
go out on the boat for 6 months. So that was my life, which is fun for your 20s, but then it gets kind of old. You get older and you want to have a relationship and a home and, you know, settle down and stuff like that. So I just up and quit. I mean, I guess I got hip surgery, a double hip surgery because I was a weightlifter too, and I just wrecked my hips. And that kind of changed me. I was laying in bed listening to the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and he was talking about being an entrepreneur and how you can do it with VAs and different things. And it started to a light bulb moment. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to be stuck on this boat, this stinky boat, you know, like, let's go do that. So I up and quit my job without a plan. I was hobbling around on crutches. I was 27 years old. I was 27 years old with no plan and double hip surgery, hobbling around on crutches, and I quit my job and didn't like, I just took this massive leap of faith. And then I was driving down the road, not wondering what to do with my life. And I hear like, do you want to learn how to flip houses? And I was like, yes, let's do that. I can do that. Like, I learned all this stuff with my dad. My dad is like the most handyman. He can fabricate anything. I learned how to drive equipment and I knew how to run tools, and like, it's like, I can do that. Sure. So I went to that, real estate conference, and that's actually like how I met JJ. Is I signed up for it, and I
Mhm.
started learning, how to do all that. So that's ultimately how I got into it. And I actually met my now husband there too. We started dating after we met there, and we flipped a couple houses together in Alaska.
Yeah, I think you got in before I did. I got in at the end of 2018,
I
about
got
six
in
years ago.
2016. Yeah.
Okay, so you were all already, because when I came across your name, you were one of the visibly successful people that we all would take note of, and you've just continued to
Really?
blaze your own trail.
I 2 years in, I didn't feel that, but I'm glad you thought so. I'm flattered.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
But
8 years
it's
in now, so and still just doing my thing. But
well,
yeah.
it's funny because we're just us. Each one of us are just
Mhm.
us. And as we go along life doing our thing, we just wake up and brush our teeth and put our shoes on and go about our day. We're the same person we were yesterday, but we don't realize as we continue to walk our journey, there's someone always coming up behind us who's brand new. And we forget sometimes that we are seen differently by those that are coming up. They don't we don't always recognize our challenges and the hurdles that we've had to overcome, and we just see it as another day, and that other people come up behind us and take note of the things that we don't always remember, and um we sometimes represent things to the newer people that I'm honored to be recognized for. And like you just said, you're honored to be recognized because you've been recognized and people know your name, and now you're coaching and you're speaking and you're on various platforms, and you just become a rock star in your own right, which has me honored to call you my friend.
Well, thank you. And the great thing about this day and age, I was just talking to someone about this, but before you had to be recognized by somebody else and to get on their stage kind of. Now with social media, you have your own stage. You get out there. Like JJ is teaching you how to do that. Do videos, get yourself out there. Like there is so much available to us now. It's really quite amazing. And you set your own stage, put yourself out there.
Exactly, exactly. It's you talk about put yourself out there. I say it all the time. You don't market your business, you market yourself.
Yes.
And we need to be visible. People do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yep.
I frequently say that I throw trust out the window. I think I got a pretty good people picker. You know that if I don't like you, I'm not going to trust you. But again, if people don't know you, they cannot like you. If you're not visible, they will not know who you are. So
Mm-hmm.
the key to success, really, we want to build relationships with successful people. The
Yes.
key to our success are the 5 or 6 people we interact with the most, which is why I'm glad to call you a friend. But, as we want to surround ourselves with successful people, how do we do that? We do that by building rapport with others,
Mm-hmm.
ideally successful people. How do we get to know them or build those relationships? By discovering what we have in common with them.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do that? We need to market ourselves and tell people who we are and what we're about by
Yeah.
using our personal Facebook page as our digital business card. And thereby, ideally, if we make ourselves visible, people will notice us. And that's so important. This kind of takes us into your topic today, which is the psychology of successful investing.
Yes.
And we're all good people to start with, ideally. There are a couple, there's a bad egg in every basket, I guess. But we're all good people. But what do we need to do sometimes? How do we tweak a couple little things here and there to really open up our opportunities? So, you know, why don't you take us down the journey of the topic today? I don't know how you want to start or where you want to go, but have at it. And your topic again is a psychology of successful investing. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
what do you
I'd
want
love
to?
to. I
Yeah,
think where I stopped in my story is actually a great segue for this. It's the fact that before, I mean, I had no experience in doing any of this. And I'm just this young girl from a village. I didn't, I can't even remember how old I was when I finally had McDonald's. There was no McDonald's. Like I saw these commercials when I went to friend's house because I didn't really have TV at my house. And I thought it was all fantasy land when I saw Ronald McDonald on the, commercial and stuff like that. I was like, wow, that's just really, and I thought he was real. Like I was like, oh, like if you go to the city, you get to see these commercials, the actual people are not people really, but anyways, these things, animals, whatever they were dancing around. Like I didn't know I was from a village. there was nothing there. There were no, like, I had to learn how to cook from a young age because there was no fast food. There was no restaurants, you know? So I think that is something that actually helped as I learned to be self-sufficient at a very young age. I could take care of myself. I was taught how to do all of that stuff. And so I always just had this belief that I could figure it out and I could do it. And so I think that that confidence like comes through in life in general. And so when I went and I got my biology degree and I decided that's not what I wanted to do, I didn't have this limiting belief that, oh, well, now I can't do anything. Like I was literally alone in this crappy apartment that I found because I wasn't on the boat. And so I had to find somewhere to live. And I found like this cheap, crappy apartment. I was living by myself, got a dog because that's what I wanted once I quit. Like I immediately went and got a dog. But it was me on crutches with a dog in this like efficiency apartment, single, going to a flipping conference, believing in myself that I could go do it at 27 years old. And so just the fact that I believed that if I couldn't do it, I could at least find somebody that knew how or partner with somebody that knew how or that could do it with me. And I always believed that I could learn, I could educate myself, like you always grow, always, you know, the best investment you can make is in yourself, like always
Yes.
invest in knowledge. And so I was investing in knowledge, going to that conference. I was like, I can learn how to do this and I'll partner with people that know how to do this and
No,
I'm going to get this done.
where did I mean, as you said, you're living in Alaska at the time, and as you said, you're in a village. Where
Mm-hmm.
did you go to see that conference?
So by that point, I had moved to Anchorage, which is a bigger city. And
Yeah.
so they came to Anchorage, which was rare. So I jumped on the opportunity. I was like, oh, this never happens. They never come to Alaska. So yeah, I had moved to the city, which is really only 200,000 people. It's still nothing if you live somewhere
How
like
many people were in your village?
800.
800. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I've grown up in Los Angeles, which is I don't know how many millions of people.
Yeah, yeah. It's Los Angeles to me is scary. I'm like, that's huge. It was scary to come to Austin, where now I think we're over a million now. It's big city. It was a culture shock for sure. But you know, I was willing to do it, even though it was scary, even though it was culture shock. Even going to the city of 200,000 people was culture shock coming from a village of 800 where you don't have access to the mainland. You're stuck on this island. Everybody knows everybody and everybody's business, you know, small
Mhm.
village type lifestyle. And I was seeing what people who stayed there, what they ended up turning out to be. And it's like, it I don't know how to say that nicely. They don't go anywhere. It's like there's this ceiling and they live on this island and they don't experience life. They're not
Yeah.
cultured. They don't really fully what I feel is live. You know, I wanted to travel. I wanted to get out. I wanted to see things. I wanted to
Good
learn
for
other
you.
stuff. And so I forced myself to get out of my comfort zone, which I think is, you know, another aspect of like the psychology of successful investing. It's like invest in yourself, get knowledge, get out there, get out of your comfort zone, set your sights, like have a long-term perspective. Like think about where you want to be. Don't think about now necessarily, but it's like, okay, where do I want to be? And then like, how can I get there? Set goals that help, like smaller milestone goals, and then celebrate every time you reach a milestone. Get excited, get proud of yourself, you know, like I did it. That's awesome. And network with people. I mean, JJ is the best. I know I need to network more, but JJ is like the master. I mean, this guy like made a whole thing out of it, a whole group, a whole mastermind. You know, he has this platform that's all about it, and he's telling people to connect with so and so and so and so. So that's amazing. But what I've learned recently, just kind of getting off a topic, it made me think about it. Still kind of on topic, but I didn't plan on talking about it. Is right now Austin's in a downturn, And anybody who didn't have friends is bankrupt. Like any builder, like I'm a builder, is what I ended up doing. They're bankrupt. But because I have the right friends and I networked with the right people and everything, like we all lifted each other up to make it through this downturn. So it's so important to build good relationships and make good friends, even as you grow, especially as you grow. And so that's like a really important part. But I'll get back to my story. So I'm terrible at that.
You're
I
good. No, you're
digress.
good. Your story is so amazing. I mean, as you say, coming from, I mean, it's enough to say come from Alaska, but it wasn't like Anchorage of 200,000. It was a village of 800 on an island.
Yeah.
I mean, to look at you, it looks like you should be on some, New York fashion runway for modeling or something. You got the smile and the look, and here you are catching fish off a boat off the coast of Russia.
Yeah. Like I grew up in Grundon's rain gear. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like the bright orange rain gear and everything, and extra tough boots. But yeah, I'm a tomboy. Like I go out and I get dirty. I catch snakes now that I'm in Austin instead of fish. But it's all fun. People think I'm crazy feeding it to my ducks. But yeah, so you can watch my Facebook page. That's actually true. So I do videos on it instead of like what JJ tells you to do your own promotions. I'm like videoing my ducks eating snakes.
That's good. That's good though. I mean, it's just do something. There's
Yeah,
no right, there's no wrong, but we just got to start. So snakes, ducks, it really doesn't matter. Chickens,
yeah.
king
Every
corsos.
Yeah, I just love animals. Like when I'm successful, I'm just gonna be out on a farm in the middle of nowhere and with all my animals. Like, yeah. So I'm in Alaska and going to this conference, and I'm like, I need to meet people. Like I recognize that I'm 27 years old. I started calling lenders and they're like, yeah, okay, girl, 27-year-old girl who's on some like real estate flipping high who thinks she can go do this. What experience do you have? And I'm like, well, I took some education, I know how to run power tools. And they're like, yeah, no, like a lender isn't have you ever flipped a house? Well, no. They're like, okay, here's the door. you know so I'm like, okay, I got to meet people who the lender will actually like have trust in and faith in, and they'll actually give us money so I can go buy this house and flip it. I ended up meeting my boyfriend there. We got put together to do our elevator pitch thing.
Mhm.
And I turned bright red. Like you can ask him. When I was doing my elevator pitch, I just turned bright red because I was sitting next to him and I thought he was cute. And so like I was like, oh my God, I've never done an elevator pitch. So here I am, turned bright red, and then he's like fumbling over his words. But we ended up giving each other our real numbers, in the elevator pitch. And normally I'm the one that's like, I'm never gonna pursue a guy, the guys pursue me, like kind of attitude. But I never heard from him. And I was like, well, what the heck? I better text him and see what's going on. And this was after I had my hip surgery. I met him before hip surgery, then I had hip surgery, and then after hip surgery, I gave him a text. And he invited me out to lunch. We went to lunch, and it was a beautiful summer day, and we ended up going on mountain biking. So I did that every day because I had a puppy, a husky who needed to be ran every day or she drove me crazy. So I always had my mountain bike on my car and I was always ready to hit the mountain if whenever I had a moment. And after lunch, I told him, okay, I'm going to go on mountain biking. And he's like, well, can I come? I said, well, sure. Yeah, let's go. And he's like, well, I need to go buy a bike. And I was like, oh, I think he likes me if he's gonna go buy a bike. So I pretended like I needed to go to the bank and run some errands to give him time to go buy a bike. And then we ultimately ended up meeting up, and We just had a really fun summer hanging out together. We were riding bikes on the mountains, fishing, camping, doing everything together. Luckily, it just so happens that he had a lot of like experience managing contractors. He worked on the slope of Alaska. He was an electrician. And so we were able to get the lenders to trust him and give him money. And we ended up buying after 3 months of like playing instead of really working. Like we were kind of looking at places we could buy, but we were really just screwing off all summer, which was really fun. And I'm glad we did it because after that, it was just like grind. We got our first flip and it was down to the studs and it was negative 20 degrees and it was dark and it was like winter time in Alaska. And we had to put these egress windows in. And if you, there's a basement. So there's below ground and we need to open it up so that the windows are big enough for you to escape if there's a fire. That's what an egress window is. And so the windows were, this was an old house and it wasn't to code, so it didn't have egress windows, but the ground was frozen. And so it's like, okay, how are we gonna, like, we have to chip away the ground to put the windows in because the ground was all the way up to the house. And so we go and we get like, we make a kiln basically. Like we shoot fire at the ground and we put a box, a homemade kiln box around it. And we're heating up the ground, like melting dirt and then like chipping away at it to open it up so that we can put these windows in. And I'm like, and we had to reroute plumbing. So I'm down there with a like shop light on me, dressed up like a like I don't know, a snowman, not a snowman, you know, like you're ready for snow. And I have my hat on, my gloves, and I'm like with a 70-pound jackhammer, like jackhammering the concrete when it's negative 20 and pitch black
So
because
this was your first rehab.
that was my first one. It was insane. We had to do all new electricity, like reroute the
Oh
new.
yeah. If you're down to the
We
studs,
had
yeah.
to everything, everything, everything. So then we get done and we're like, yay, let's sell it, you know? Well, then the doors stop shutting and we notice cracks in the walls and we realize that it had faulty foundation that we
Oh,
didn't
geez.
catch because the ground was frozen when we bought it. So how are you gonna know? It's like all
Oh
nice and
gosh.
sturdy when it's frozen, but once it melts, it's like, you know. Oh my gosh. So then we had to fix the foundation. And we ended up I don't know, losing $10,000 or something, which isn't much in real estate. It felt like a lot because we worked the whole year on it
Yeah.
and ended
Yeah.
up losing, not making any money. Like we were even, we were like, okay, we'll at least break even until the foundation thing happened. Then that cost us like $10,000 to fix. So that was our first one. It was a big learning lesson, that's for sure. But you know what we did? We went and did it again. And again and again. And it really took a long time before we really made any substantial profit. We just kept doing it again and again and learning along the way. Like every single one, we learned something new. And eventually we decided that we didn't want to do rehabs. We decided that we wanted to do new construction because we had a mission that we wanted to do green buildings, something that was better for the environment because of where I grew up in my
Hmm.
biology degree. And that's really my passion. That's like my heart. And so you can't really do green when you're doing flips or rehabs. Plus, they're just a pain in the butt, I think. I'm not a fan. I never really had much good success on rehabs personally. My success came once we decided to pivot and start doing new construction.
So now, did you pivot when you moved to Texas?
Yes.
So you already moved, and that's where you started to do the new construction.
Yes.
And so now, how many years are you into this now? You've been in this like into the game for almost 10 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you've got quite a number of rehabs and new builds under your belt.
Yes.
So
Almost
you
200.
200.
Almost 200, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you. And like I said, I mean, it's crazy because, you're definitely one of those don't judge a book by its cover, right? You're a tomboy, you're into getting your hands dirty and driving trucks and shooting guns and, you
But
know,
I'm
it,
also girly. Texas did that to me. I realized that I shouldn't. And my boyfriend, a boyfriend at the time, now husband, he dressed better than me because I grew up in the village where it's like you don't give a rat's booty about what you look like, really, And that's like city girl stuff. And one day he was like, "Can I help you get dressed? Like, you need help." I
that's funny.
was like, "Okay."
So, let's jump into your topic. I mean, we were talking earlier about the psychology of successful investing. So, you know, let's jump into that for a bit. I mean,
Yeah.
we got new investors on the call. We've got new investors that are looking in on YouTube, and I understand you're doing a little bit of coaching too. So, what are
Yeah.
some of the things that we would talk about to newer investors on the psychology of successful investing?
I mean, when I started talking, I talked about having like this long time horizon about where you want to go. And my experience, I'm talking from my experience. Other people have different experiences, but my experience, like I said, I didn't earn money at first for a long time flipping. Like I just wasn't successful at it. And so my experience is that it takes time, like you have to be okay with failing and actually who is it? Someone says fail forward faster. Like that's how you succeed. That's not my quote. I can't remember who I heard it from, but you keep failing. Like it's just from people who are successful investors, they know that that's what it takes is to be okay with failing because failing is actually learning. You always learn something from it. You always take something from it. So you have to have this kind of like growth mindset that you are always learning and it's okay if you don't get it the first time. How are you going to be perfect at it the very first time you do it? Like when babies are learning how to walk, they don't just get up and start walking and running, like they
Yeah.
fall down. And so that's all a part of the mindset that you need to have to be a successful investor is you need to be okay with failing and also do something that you find that is part of your values. Like I wanted to go do green building. I learned that the carbon emissions from residential houses is actually contributing to 25% of what the carbon that's in the atmosphere. And so I was like, okay, if I build green homes, I can help reduce that by quite a bit if that's the new standard, like if people start adapting that. So I'm okay with educating people on how to do it too, because if I'm not the only one doing it and other people go do it, then that's wonderful. We're all making the world a better place, So like find something that gives you passion, lights you up, that you're excited to go out and work for, because they're all not going to be wins. And so you might as well do something that you're passionate about. So when you fail, you're like, well, at least I'm like, I'm trying to do better for the world or whatever your mission is. At least I'm like on my path that I feel like I should be on. And it allows you to keep on getting up and waking up and being excited to do what you're doing. Because for me, and I can almost say probably for you too, it's not going to be easy. Being an investor, being an entrepreneur is difficult. At least that was my experience. So they're not all going to be wins. So I would say that that's huge. That's a big part of the psychology. And setting goals. Like make sure to set little goals because if you have this big long I mean, time is big. You need to give yourself time to get up to where you're actually successful at doing what you're doing. So setting little goals along the way so that you can achieve them, it also helps with your mindset as well and your psychology because you need to feel like you're actually achieving something even when you're not succeeding all the time, at least you can make it to these little goals that you have. And having a growth mindset and always educating yourself, always knowledge and growth is the best thing. I took this course, I think it was from Harvard. It's actually free, or was it Yale? There's a free course. I can't remember if it's Harvard or Yale. They offer it, and it's like how to be happy or something like that. And growth is like one of the biggest things that help you be happy. If you're constantly learning, like you can't just be stagnant or you'll get like kind of depressed and stuff. And so always be learning. It actually helps with your, happiness. It
Yeah,
helps you be
that
happy.
sounds so key. Exactly.
Yeah. And so always learn. It like then maybe you don't have to take antidepressants. Like so continuous learning and emotional discipline, like it is all part of investing in yourself. If you can learn how to try to stay positive, learn emotional intelligence, like just be a good person, because honestly, that attracts other people. If you can make yourself a better person, and if you have the emotional intelligence to just like keep like a good, just like keep control of your nervous system, because you're taking huge leaps of faith a lot of the time. And so you're taking big risks. And as you go through it, you need to learn how to keep control of your nervous system. And emotional intelligence helps with that,
Hmm.
and staying positive and everything. And it just helps attract other people. Be a good person. And networking, I mean, shoot, JJ was talking about it, like being a good person and then like networking, you'll attract all the people that want to work with you. Like I think that it is really all about you. It's not so much about your business. It's like go and invest in whatever value is in your values. Go do the thing that makes you happy, that lights you up, because we are only on this earth for a certain amount of time. So you might as well be doing something that you're passionate about and something that lights you up and something that excites you. And for me, that was green building. And then be a good person. And then go network and build your network. And everything you'll attract all the right people. When people like you, when people like what you're doing, when they can think that you're doing something really cool. Like a lot of the times when I tell people I'm doing green building, they're like, wow, that's really cool. Like, tell me more about that. And then people, if they're not like necessarily wanting to have us build a house, they want to invest in us. They want to, like they want to work with us somehow,
Yeah.
or have me go and speak or whatever it is, like they want to work with me. And so, I mean, that's really the secret sauce, I think.
Well,
It's all about you and who you are.
you're so right on. That ties into a couple of different things I've always said is we always hear it, your network is your net worth. I like to say build your network before you need it.
Yeah.
But what you're really tying into one of my other favorite sayings is, the importance of networking is that networking leads to visibility, and that visibility leads to opportunity. And
Hmm.
again, what do we want but the opportunity to not just make money, but to surround ourselves with successful people. And we do that by marketing ourselves.
Yes. Most recently, the most recent like networking thing that I did, I went to a pool party for a woman's pool party, and I was like, okay, I'll go and see what comes of it. I ended up meeting a woman who was interested in what I was doing. And I had no idea who she was or anything, but we just connected. I think she came up to me and she's like, "We have the same hair." And I was like, "We do. That's cool." You know? And she
Commonality,
I was
commonality.
like, "Yeah, it's building rapport, right?" And so she invited me to dinner at her house, and she ended up having like a house in Westlake, which is the rich part of town. Like this house was phenomenal. And I mean, she had the cool plunge, cold plunge thing. She had a big pool. She had overlooking the lake, and her house was big. And she had a basketball court and a tennis court. And like,
Wow.
I was like, oh wow, okay. I had no idea. She looked like a hippie. Like that's how she was dressed when I met her. I had no idea. Like, I had no idea who I was meeting. So she invited me and my husband, and we went. And she ended it. She's like, I'm going to invite my business partner. And I was like, okay. This guy has a factory, like a $10 million, or is it $20 million, I think, factory. And he's doing modular. So now we're working with him to do modular homes, green modular homes, energy efficient modular homes, because his modular homes were not great. They were, like terrible as far as energy efficiency goes. But it's allowing us to actually, because before the homes that I built were like expensive. You couldn't do it in an affordable way, really, not for people with normal income, average income.
So you
And
guys combine talents.
so now we're building modular. Yeah. And we're able to do it in 3 months. Like before, it would take us a year and a half. Now we can do modular more affordably, and we can do more of them. And we're able to build energy efficient homes, like put more of them out there, which was like my mission. So I'm just like, I found the
So
Mecca,
are you doing this in the Austin area?
Right now, yes, it's only Austin, but I expect we'll be expanding, yeah, pretty soon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're on with LeAnn. What do you got for us?
I was wondering with the modular construction, are they factory built and moved to site assembled? Is that the way it goes?
Yeah. So the factory builds everything. It even puts all the finishes in. So light fixtures, tile, plumbing, like, faucets, stuff like that. When they get there, the modulars, we have to take a crane and lift it and then set it on the site. So we get the foundation and everything ready while they're being built. That's why it can get done so fast, is it's like, okay, and they're already permitted, which is huge in Austin, because Austin is a pain in the behind about getting permits through the city is so we can already have the permitted, and we just get the site ready, the foundation ready, lift them up, set it, and we have to do the hard plumbing, electrical, like get it all wired in and everything, and then boom, seal it up, and you have a house. Like it's awesome. I love it.
So that you're set on a stem wall, not on a slab, and then it's an envelope underneath the floor.
Say that again.
You put it on a stem wall.
Oh, it's piers. Yeah.
Oh, here.
Piers. Yeah.
My microphone's still not working very well.
It's a little bit muffly.
Oh,
But you look great, Fred.
You do.
Look great.
You do. You look good.
But I've got if you can hear me at all, I am in a modular home and we like it. It's 12 years old and it's the lowest electric bill I think I've had in a property, and I like the 9-foot ceilings. So it almost looks like a custom house, but it was modular built.
They do look like custom homes. When I have some that I Airbnb right now, and nobody knows that they're modular. Nobody. They look amazing, and nobody knows that they're modular. Yeah.
What's the average square footage? I mean, are they just standard? They're all the same square footage, or do they vary in square feet?
You can have them vary. Yeah. I mean, there's a limit to how big they can be, because they have to be able to get put on the truck, but you can do different floor plans and stuff like that. You're a little bit limited to floor plans. It's normally like how do you fit rectangles together? And
on the low end, what's the square footage for the smaller ones?
Usually like 1,100 square feet, but that's only because of the city, like regulations, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, Ted, you're on with LeAnn. What's your question?
Yeah, I heard you mention that they go up on piers, LeAnn. Is it possible to put them on slabs?
Not that I'm aware of it because you need to be able to hook the plumbing in. Like,
Okay, the plumbing's underneath then, okay.
yeah, the plumbing's underneath, and yeah, everything you set it on the piers, and then you go underneath and hook it all up, and you need space to be able to do that. There probably is a way to do it on slab, but you probably have to have it like perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you don't want to mess it up, or else it's going to be jackhammering, and like, how do you
So,
get down there
so
to fix it?
basically, they're like on a 3 foot elevated foundation.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Mm-hmm.
California, where I'm at, most homes, I mean, it's really rare. The home I'm building in Glendale right now is a concrete slab, but most homes in California, to my knowledge, they're a raised foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Three
Okay.
foot, so you have a crawl space underneath. I was going to ask, I mean, are these going in with sewer lines out to the main sewer, or they have septic tanks?
Sewer lines. But
Oh,
we're in
wow.
the city, so yeah, it would make, I mean, I'm sure that if you go out into the country, there's like septic tanks and different things, but we're in the city, so we're getting hooked into the city sewer. Hmm.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So, Teddy, did that answer your question?
It did, because California is having a big, you know, as well as I did, JJ, that California's having a big push towards accessory dwelling units.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, and if you got a big enough backyard, modular would be probably a quicker way to go than trying to build in your backyard.
Quicker
Yeah,
and
but
more affordable. Yeah.
it sounds like talking to LeAnn, though, then you'd have to have a crane big enough to lift it up into the backyard.
Well,
You
they have cranes that'll lift a bridge off of the water.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
And that is something to consider is if you're trying to do your pricing, your deal analysis is what I call it. I have a deal analysis that I do put all my numbers in. Make sure to call around and see how much it is for a crane because it is a pricey line item here. It's like $10,000 to $15,000 a day for a crane. And so something we always try to do is figure out how we only need to rent it for like one day. So we're like, how many picks are we going to do? You know, how many times do we grab it, set it down? How long is it going to take? Can we get this done in a day or is it 2 days? And you have to put it in your budget, you know? So that is definitely something to consider.
Well, LeAnn, I think we've covered a lot. I mean, we definitely talked about, how you got into real estate and your journey and over 200 homes. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. And with modular, talk to me next year because you said I'm going to do this annually and let's see where I'm at
Yeah,
then.
no, I think definitely I can see us doing a whole presentation just on modular homes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
really exciting.
Hey, really quick, I wanted to ask if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you? Is it your MySpace page or your TikTok?
I didn't know MySpace was still a thing, and I think TikTok's going away here pretty soon, right? Because of China or whatever.
And
I
that
don't know.
do you have a website and are you
Yeah,
coaching?
yeah, yeah. And I'm on all the social. I do have a TikTok. Felt Fortunate Foundations, anything, Instagram, Fortunate Foundations. I myself am personally mostly on Instagram and actually Facebook more than Instagram. You can always message me and I'll respond there.
I had heard you're starting to do some coaching now.
Yeah, that's brand new. Yeah, that's brand new. So I do have a course coming up, and I'm really excited about that. It's called Alchemy. I haven't released the name. I released it as an invisible offer. And so nobody knows except for you now what the name of the course even is. People started buying it before I even shared anything about it. And so I'm really excited. It's actually been quite popular. People are buying in without knowing anything about it at low prices. And as I release things, the price goes up. So I'm going to release that the name is Alchemy tomorrow, and it's going to go up to $99. And so if you want to get in now at 77, you can get in. I can share the link with you.
And how long is the course?
It's a 3-day course. It'll be a
Okay.
3-day course, and we'll do some Q&A then as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, we've been going quite a while. I want to kind of wrap us up here a bit, but yeah, the best way to connect with you is your Instagram. And I had one last question for you.
Yeah.
You've touched on this all throughout our conversation, but Yeah, you and I met through an education platform, and there
Yes,
are many real estate education platforms throughout the country. They
yes,
have brand new students coming in with no experience. They have
yeah.
brand new students coming in with a great deal of experience, but they're now coming to the social media platform of having a Facebook group for the community they're joining to get the education, but sometimes overlooking the importance of networking. What is networking for a lot of people? You know, I think in my opinion, don't always understand the value or how to do it. But from your experience as a, 10-year veteran with over 200 new builds, what is the importance of networking to the success of the new investor, as well
Oh,
as the experienced investor coming into the social media arena of real estate investment?
yeah, yeah. So just to say it over again, because I had my dogs that I was trying to listen to you over, you're asking what the importance of networking for new investors, people coming into the space.
As well as the experienced investors that are coming to
Oh,
utilize social media. Yes.
oh, using social media and networking. I think it's everything. Quite honestly, I attribute most of my success to that, quite honestly. I decided to master the social media platforms, mostly Instagram and Facebook. To do them all is kind of very time consuming to learn them all. So I hired assistants to help me with that. But the fact that I hired assistants to help me with the other ones just shows how important I feel they all are. And I think that it shows who you are. It allows people to get to know you. And it just kind of creates trust in a sense. Once people see who you are, what you're about, what you're doing, like I show a lot of my life on there just because I want people to know what I'm about. People know that I have a bunch of dogs and chickens and ducks and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with real estate, but it's who
Yeah.
I am. And it's what I do in my spare time and it's what I enjoy. So
Well,
I
and that's what makes you who you are.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
people can,
Relate to
build
you.
rapport. They can relate to you if you're into dogs or you're into ducks or whatever else, chickens, whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, JJ and I talked about dogs for, I don't know, 15 minutes, like last night, 15, 20 minutes. We were talking about dogs. That has nothing to do with real estate, but it's what we enjoy and it's like what we like to
Yeah. And
do.
then by discussing commonality, it makes our friendship stronger.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think sharing not just your business because that makes you seem kind of like spammy. I think sharing about everything, your life, it makes you more authentic. It allows people to relate to you. And it doesn't just make it feel like, hey, come to my coaching thing, or hey, like, let me build your house for you, or like use car salesman vibe, don't do that. People don't
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, you're absolutely awesome. I thank you so much for coming on today. I want to say if you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like LeAnn's video in the comment section. Please put down your takeaways or what you found valuable, what you found informative. Uh, I forget what the name of those orange outfits that you wear on the boat. So that
Run-ins
there you go. Put what your takeaways
or
are
extra
and
test.
how I can improve and how we can bring you a better product because that's what we want to do is bring you more value. Really thank you guys for being with us who are on YouTube. Those of you on the call, still on the call, thank you so much. Again, if you guys want to connect with LeAnn, it's on her Facebook page, and that is Fortunate Foundations on Instagram. You'll find her there, she and her husband. If you want to connect with me, find my website, which is jjsdeason.com. It's up here in the little box here. If you want to register for my group, either go to my website or go to this little box over here. You can scan the QR code and just register and let me show you how to build your network, how to build your brand, how to build your visibility so everybody knows who you are and you can get great friends like LeAnn here. Surround yourself with successful
Okay.
investors. Um, Anyhow, I really thank you for being on today. And you guys on the call, stick around, don't go anywhere. We're going to do some more networking. LeAnn, for everybody else watching on the call, we'll see them out in the world of social media and virtual networking, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, JJ. I had so much fun. I can talk about this stuff forever. It's like my passion. I hope it shows that this is just like what I love to do. So
Oh yeah, and we're gonna
I'll come
definitely
back
have you back.
anytime.
Definitely have you back. Hey, buddy, thank you for joining us. Please come back for more.